On the show today, we have two very special guests. We'll be covering topics such as YouTube experiences, Premier League talk, the difference between the US and UK football, i.e. MLS and Premier League, Twitch experiences, and their goals and plans for the future. What is going on, everybody? My name is Cookie6. Welcome along to the C6 podcast. Today, I am joined by two lovely YouTubers. We have Tonkaturn.
Hi there, guys.
Hello, how you doing?
Not too bad, yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. And we also have GendoFM.
What's going on, guys?
That lovely voice, yes. So, how are we all doing? We both good?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Well, just rabble. It all sounds good over here. And it's all doing
good.
well over here as well.
Good, right, great stuff. All right, so, who am I going to start with? The first thing I've got down, right, is YouTube experiences. So, basically, the podcast is going to work today in different stages. So we're going to talk about both of your experiences on YouTube, and then we're going to have a bit of a chat about the Premier League, and then we're going to go into the main core topic today of the differences between the US style of football, because obviously, Gendo, you're a Chicago Fire supporter, you live in Chicago. Tonka, you're a bit of a supporter of MLS yourself, and then
I am.
We're going to move it on to the differences between obviously those two sides of football. Our experiences on that side, and then we're going to finish it off with sort of maybe some Twitch experiences that we've had, and then plans for the future and goals by the end of the year. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds great.
Right over here, too.
All right, so the first thing that I've got down is YouTube experiences. Now, we have a bit of a contrast between all three of us here. Gendo, you lead the line with subscriber count. You just recently hit 2,000, so congratulations there.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
Good stuff. So you put predominantly a Football Manager YouTuber. Your mainstay series is Basque Boys. So the first question I have for you is, how long have you been doing YouTube for?
I started YouTube in January of 2015. It was originally talked about between myself, originally Evolving Mick Loazo, and Jack and Dr. Ben GFM, basically just talking about them, how to get into the YouTube scene and starting up a series. And after a while, I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. Why not do it now? And originally started on YouTube with the original Hexagon Challenge. What a way to start out my YouTube career as well, going right into the deep end. Took me nine long-ass months, but I was able to complete the Hexagon Challenge right before FM16 dropped. Going on from there, I've basically have put myself out there as the guy who wants to do challenges, whether it was on YouTube or on Twitch. Following that, I did the British Steel Challenge. That was on Twitch. On YouTube, though, I continued on doing other sort of interesting challenges, like West Ham. They never won a Premier League. I wanted to try and get them a Premier League title. Queen's Park up in Scotland. They're an all-amateur side. Try to get them up into the Scottish Premier League. And now working on with Athletic Bilbao, the Basque Boys Basque-only challenge. I can only use players from the Basque region of Spain to try and get them to domestic glory as well as European glory. So yeah, I fancy myself someone that wants to take on these large challenges and won't really settle for anything less.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about the Bilbao save briefly. Mm-hmm. So this is your mainstay sort of series on your channel. It's the one that you're probably known for in this sort of cycle of Football Manager. How difficult is that, only being allowed to use Basque players?
Well, it focuses heavily on having to scout regens because you only have a limited amount of Basque players that are currently available at the start of the game. So it forces you into looking at youth players under 19 years old, basically, to restock your roster year in and year out. In fact, you cannot sign anybody over the age of 17 that is Spanish. You can sign 16-year-olds that are Spanish, bring them into the youth academy, and they will become Basque. But as soon as they hit 17, you cannot sign them because they will not then turn into Basque. You would then have to look for Basque players over 17. So yeah, it's been really difficult because there are certain positions that do not regen very well of players with Basque nationality. For instance, I'm struggling to find left backs in regens because they just aren't coming up. The quality of regen in that position is not coming up. I'm finding other positions very well, but left back is really a problem. So going down the line, like 4 or 5 years down the line, I'm going to be having a weakness at that position. So yeah, there's various struggles to have in scouting and whatnot, but overall I feel like it's well worth the challenge trying to figure out what you want to do with this squad and only having a small subset of players that you can use.
Yeah, so I've never done a Bilbao save myself. Tonka, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
You've recently just hit 100 subscribers. Is that
I have, yeah.
Well done.
Hit.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It's a nice milestone to hit, isn't it?
It is a very nice milestone to hit. It took me a while to get there, and I thought I was stuck on 99 for a long time, and it was like, is this ever going to turn over to 100?
Yeah, and it's a very satisfying thing. I remember waking up one day and seeing 100. I was like, oh my god, I've made it.
Yeah.
But no, it's so Tonka, going on what Brian's saying there about the Basing. Have you ever done an Athletic Bilbao save at all?
I haven't done a Bilbao save myself. I have recently started a Bayern Munich save, which is just a homegrown one, so German only.
Yeah.
And I'm finding that a little bit easier than obviously the Basque save, because there is a lot of more German talent about.
Yeah, I was going to say, based on that Basque-only sort of thing, I can imagine it can be sort of very frustrating when you have, say, 5 regens that come through who are very good, but you are lacking in a crucial position. Is that? Yeah. Have you had that problem at all, Brian?
Well, you just asked me that, having a problem in a crucial position, left back, what I was just saying with Bilbao.
Yeah. Have you ever had like a striker who's just not cutting it, or anything like that?
Yeah, in regens that I've picked up, I've had strikers that I want to try and develop into more advanced forwards, but they're only suited for poachers, so they're not scoring goals because of that. So, yeah, there are a little bit of difficulties on that front, also trying to figure out tactics to make the players suited for that position. So, yeah, I guess in some ways it's a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah. I watched your video the other day. I can't remember, was it yesterday or the day before? I left the comment. You cracked me up because you went on a bit, well, not a rage, but it was sort of, you got a bit aggressive towards your screen, in the sense that I think you conceded a goal or something. I remember it now. I'm just laughing about it. It was, and it cracked me up. Now, what would you say your style of YouTubing is like? Would you sort of say you're a bit more casual, or do you sort of see yourself as more of an enthusiastic character?
I always want to try and be as informational as possible as well. It's like I don't really see myself going out of my way to create characters or stories. Like other YouTubers, that's fine. It's what they can do naturally. Myself, I just don't feel like that's me. I mean, yes, I do get enthusiastic, whether it's in a positive or a negative light, depending on how the team is doing. So, there's always that. In fact, if you're not really showing all that much emotion, to me, it feels like you're not really invested in the game. But for me, I'm heavily invested in the team that I'm playing with right now. And that's exactly what my emotions are going forward. I want this team to succeed. And if they're not, I will make it known. Yeah,
that resonates massively. I'm sure with you as well, Tonka. That sort
it does, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you get drawn into a save that you're playing, there's no there's no more satisfying feeling than sort of progressing on and doing really well with the team you're doing. Because I'm doing an offline save, I can't get my words out. I'm doing an offline save at the minute with Middlesbrough, and we've just got ourselves into the Champions League, and it's very satisfying to sort of get there, because I think with Football Manager, more so than other games out there such as FIFA, it's much more satisfying to create something that you don't have control over. Essentially, you don't have that sort of, I'm going to make this player run this way, I'm going to make this player run this way. It's sort of, you have to mould it, and then it fits in on its own. And I think that it's so much more satisfying to have that, if that makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, I recently had a Derby County episode. I don't know whether you saw it.
Yeah. I was going to come on to that. If you want to just talk us through that a little bit.
Well, it's literally back onto your point where you get emotionally involved. Yeah. I was so close to getting relegated. That was down to the last game of the season, and my commentary just stopped because I just couldn't take my eyes off the action, and we literally got it just by a point, and I was so relieved. On that episode, it was all on camera as well, and it was just, oh my god.
Yeah, I think amazing. when you're emotionally invested in a game, it portrays across in a video a lot better than if you're having to sort of fake it, if that makes sense. Now, so let's progress it on a bit. Brian, you sort of said about a few YouTubers helping you when you first started. What sort of made you want to get into YouTube anyway?
Well, it was originally going to be developed as some sort of hobby. It wasn't something that I was going to be taking seriously from the start. Just something that I wanted to do with my time and wanted to at least get some finer points of how to go about YouTubing before I even got started. I didn't want to just go dive in head first without knowing anything. Some people do that, and some people swim, others sink. It's just natural. But I wanted to be a little bit prepared before I took the plunge into going into making YouTube content. So that's why I consulted Ben and Jack, who I was watching on Twitch at the time, as well as Evolving Mick, who was one of the purveyors or originators of that Pentagon Challenge on YouTube. So I was watching some of his stuff as well. And yeah, the information and the knowledge that they passed on to me is obviously you don't have to have the best equipment right now. Just have the best mindset going into making YouTube videos personally. You be active, be engaging, and it'll all fall into place.
Yeah, so I think anyone who's started YouTube will know straight away if you're not invested, if I think a lot of people come into it thinking, right, I'm gonna do this for 3 months and I'm gonna start making money. It doesn't work like that. I think you have to enjoy what you're doing. I mean, it's a massive cliche to say because I think you hear everyone say it, but it's true. It's you can't sort of jump into this thinking, right, I'm gonna be rich. Do you know what I mean? Especially with the Football Manager side of things, because let's be honest, there's not money in it. Like, there's not a lot of money in it unless you're perhaps Loki Doki, Dr. Benji, and a few others. You might make a bit of a side project from it, but you're not going to come into this making a whole load of bank, let's say. And
it's one of those niche markets that only appeals to a certain group of person, a certain kind of person that likes to not just watch football, but also likes management simulations.
Yeah, exactly. Tonka, what made you want to get into YouTube? Is it just to create a few videos, get involved in a community? What was it?
Well, there's a bit of a backstory to that. I personally suffer from mental health issues.
Okay.
And I make videos because it helps me take my mind off the world, basically.
Yeah.
And I made a few videos back in November time last year. And it helped me out a lot, but then I went back to university and stuff like that, so it's kind of had to take a back seat. But ever since I left university now, it's helping me get the videos out there, and it just relaxes me and just gives me something to focus on. That's why I did it.
I think, that's pretty interesting. Now, one of the things I've noticed when I do this YouTube stuff is how time invested you are, if that makes sense. I mean, it does take a lot of time, and I think if you're not completely committed into the game, then you're not going to sort of withstand that. And I think from a brain stimulant point, because you've got so much going on where you are the director, the producer, the editor, and all this sort of stuff. It sort of, you have that brain stimulant to sort of keep your mind busy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do it for. It just keeps my mind busy, because otherwise I would be on my own, basically watching TV.
Yeah,
it just gives me an outlet for my creative stuff that I need to get out there, if you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you're saying. So I've got a thing here saying best experience and worst experience. So we'll start with you, Gendo. What's been your best experience on YouTube so far?
Oh, completing the Hexagon Challenge, of course. After the 9-month slog of going through several countries and several continents, winning what I can, losing along the way. Of course, it wasn't all sunshine and roses. There were some bad spots along the way. But after the 9-month slog, finally getting that last trophy and completing the Hexagon Challenge, best feeling I ever could have had.
Yeah.
And as far
That's brilliant.
Yeah, no, and as far as the worst experience, let's take a gander of my British Steel Challenge. Okay, my British Steel Challenge, I was in Scotland at the time. I was just moving from Aberdeen to Queen of the South because I needed to pick up the lower Scottish trophies, and Queen of the South were sitting in the Scottish League One at the time. So I take over the managerial role there. I click forward, continue, and I notice that I was sacked the very next day.
No way.
They picked up a manager. They apparently had a contract for me and another manager. I accepted first, then the other manager accepted, and they shipped me off, and I was left without a job.
Oh God!
I don't know if that's ever happened to anybody else. I mean, some people, they get sacked after a day because they don't attend a press conference, but for me, not even doing anything and getting sacked, it's absolutely insane.
That does sound pretty horrific. Tonka, same questions to you then. Best experience so far on YouTube?
My best experience on YouTube so far is not actually FM related. It's basically a video that I uploaded about the WWE. I don't know what you guys know about that.
I'm personally not overly invested. I was as a young teen, but not more so now.
Well, yeah, pretty much off and on as of late.
Yeah.
And like I say, I uploaded a video about that, and I woke up one morning to find I had like 2,500 views in an hour.
Oh wow!
I was like, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden it just kept going and going. It kept like that for like 3-4 hours, and there's like 18,000 views on it. I was like, wow, okay, this is my second week on YouTube. Where's this come from?
Yeah. I bet that was sort of a weird sensation to have when you haven't been making videos long, and then one of your videos it takes off.
Yeah, it was like
that.
And then literally it just stopped dead. Literally, I think it was like 4 o'clock in the evening. It just stopped, and I was getting like 2 views like an hour. I was like, hold on, it went from 2.5 to 2. How's that work?
Yeah, that's strange. That's a weird one. It's really interesting to see, because I'm looking at your most popular videos now, and it's the leaked rumors or something. I see what it is. Yeah, that's really interesting. So on your channel, we do have, obviously, it's WWE and Football Manager. Now
and
going
others.
forward, and others, going forward, are you looking to like combine the two in the sense that they're going to be sort of 2 series, or do you just try and keep people updated on WWE every now and then?
I watch the WWE, and I love it as well, and I just want to keep people updated because there is a market out there for it. But I also like playing games like Football Manager, and I do that because I'm playing it anyways. I might as well make videos on it, and it just helps me with my mental health as well. That's basically why I do it. And like I say, I just try and make the best content for everyone out there.
Yeah. So obviously that was your best experience so far. Have you had a worst experience, or have you had a negative experience so far?
The worst one is the ongoing issues of trying to grind out videos.
Yeah.
When so my last video at the moment is of Football Manager has got like 12 views on it, and like I've put a lot of effort into that, and it's just trying to get over that where people are going to watch it eventually, but it's not getting there straight away.
Tonka, Tonka, I've had the same exact problem as you when I was starting out with my Pentagon Hexagon. I was getting 20-30 views per video, but I realized that you're not just going to get instant success right away. You do got to grind at it.
Exactly. Yeah, you do. I think Lelujo made a very good point at the start of the year when he said you're probably going to have to make about 100 videos to sort of get better at your craft, if that makes sense. You start to find out what you're good at. What your editing gets better, everything gets better, and I think that video he made about the 100 videos and stuff was very sort of, it resonated with me, because I think we all know when you start off your videos just aren't very good.
No,
like they're not good. It's straight up. Unless you've got experience, your videos they're not good, and you won't be seen for a long time. And I think it is demoralising. You do go through that sort of when it's like you get 15 views for a video that you've put a lot of time into, and it's like And I think it's one thing you have to ride out, because obviously in Gendo's situation he's now got 2,000, and it's you regularly getting in the multiple hundreds views every day. So I mean it does come round in the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Like I said, you just gotta keep grinding at it. You will get noticed. And as soon as you do that, you will have people sharing your videos, and that'll get more eyes on it and more views, and it's just a continuously repeating cycle.
Yeah.
And another point is there is a really, really steep learning curve for YouTube.
Yeah.
I've noticed that there is a lot of information out there, and you just need to take that information in and implement it the best way you can. But there is a really steep learning curve.
Yeah, I think if you've never had experience with editing software, that was the main one for me, was trying to learn how to crop clips and sort of put stuff together. I think, yeah, because like I say, you are a director, producer, editor, and everything else, and it's trying to learn everything is difficult. Whereas trying to get your voice across properly in a video, trying to get all the information across in a video, and then you've got to edit it together. It's just, it confuses you, and when you start, it's sort of like you say, it is a massive learning curve.
Yeah. The main
it will take you a good 2-3 hours just to get comfortable with what you're using, the software you're using, and
yeah, exactly.
and editing of videos. It's going to take you a little bit, but once you get used to it, the time will shrink to recording, to editing, to uploading.
Yeah, exactly. Right then, so that's YouTube. We can tick that off. Let's move on to the Premier League, because obviously we got a few games going on as we record this podcast. Now today, Sunday, we've had a few games. We've had Manchester United play Swansea, Everton play Chelsea, who obviously Everton, Gendo are your team. We've also had Middlesbrough and Man City play, and currently it's half time, but it's Tottenham versus Arsenal in the North London derby. Looking at the league table then. It's quite interesting. We said off air. Down the bottom, it's more interesting than the top. Would you agree with that assessment?
Definitely.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly because, like we were talking about off air as well, yeah, Sunderland's already been relegated, but then you got 5 teams that are sitting roughly around the relegation area, that any sort of slip up that they have could see them down in that relegation zone.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, Tonka, you're a Manchester United fan, and there was a draw that way today against Swansea, which in Swansea's eyes is a very good result. From a Manchester United fan's perspective, what's your take on that game today and the season so far?
The season so far is, I reckon we should have done a lot better. We needed to spend a bit more money in the summer, because the depth that we've got isn't there in the striker department. We only had
that's evident. Yeah,
we only had Ibra, and now he's out injured for the rest of the season. It's just we've got no one else to score the goals.
Well, I was going to say, you've got a 19-year-old Marcus Rashford. I mean, he's a very good player, but he's probably not going to score you the goal as Ibra is.
No.
So, from an outsider and a neutral, looking at Manchester United, right, 34 games played, and you've lost 3. Yeah. Now, that's a very, very good record.
It is.
But then again, you've got 14 draws and 17 wins. Now, obviously, if some of those draws would turn into wins, it could be a very, very different scenario for Manchester United. Is that because it's Jose Mourinho at the club, or is it just a striker problem? Like, I mean, Jose Mourinho, he's always going to grind out a result. He's always going to be very good defensively, but does he have the skill set to sort of score the goals that sort of Liverpool or Chelsea do?
Well, we know he has, because he's took Chelsea to a title.
Yeah. And
he's won titles wherever he's gone. So we know he's got the mentality to win titles and score goals. But I think Manchester United are only just coming out of the post-Alex Ferguson era.
Okay.
We're still in that hangover period. And many fans don't want to recognise any other system apart from the way Alex Ferguson played. Which, I know it's been a long time since he's gone, but fans still remember that. And we need to understand as fans that it's not going to happen straight away now that he's gone.
It's sort of a rebuilding process. Yeah. Gendo, from your perspective on Manchester United, would you call it an underachieving season?
I feel like, not if they ultimately don't reach top 4, it would be an underachieving season. I'm taking a look at the table. If you turn 5 of those draws into wins, you guys are in second place. So it's a matter of you got to rescue wins from those draws in the situation that you're in. You can't let some of these matches slip. Like you said, 3 losses on the season, that's great and all, but when you take a look at the overall body of work and notice how many draws that you guys had, it's just you need to learn how to finish. And I'm pretty sure Jose Mourinho, it does have that capability to get the team into that position. I just don't know if it's the team not executing or if it's the tactics that he's using. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we could sort of look towards next year, and obviously, if signings do come in the summer, it could be a whole different scenario going into next year. Tonka, do you feel like they're going to get to the top 4?
I feel like we can get to the top 4, but I think Jose's targeting the Europa League more than the league at the moment.
Fair enough. Because obviously,
because he has actually said in a recent press conference that the Europa League is our best chance of getting in the Champions League.
Seeing that, I don't know whether he's just saying that to sort of make people think he's written this league off, because they're a point behind Manchester City. It's not out of reach. And am I right in thinking there's a Manchester derby, or has that been? Has that been?
I think that's been.
Okay.
Manchester
I think
Derby
they missed
was
the
last
trick
week,
there.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was last
Sorry,
week.
I'm behind.
And we drew it.
Yeah, so I think that was a missed opportunity in itself, because obviously Manchester City have slipped up again today, drawing with Middlesbrough. Was it Middlesbrough?
It
Swansea.
was. No, Middlesbrough and Manchester City drew, and then United versus Swansea.
Yeah.
You got to admit though that Sigurdsson free kick, absolutely sublime.
Oh,
Yeah. He's quite a special player, and it's a weird one, because obviously if Swansea do go down, you would be thinking one of these top teams is going to pick him up.
Everton's in the running as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll actually go there, but they're in the running.
Yeah. Let's move on to Everton, because obviously they've played, well, they're one of the few teams that's played the most games this season so far. They're on 35, got 3 games left. Is there an outside chance they could perhaps go for the Europa League?
Well, they're currently in 7th place right now, and seeing as Capital One Cup, as I believe it's the EFL Cup now, and the FA Cup are going to be won by teams that are in the top 6, Everton is automatically in the Europa League for next year, so that's not a problem. It's just a matter of, with Ronald Koeman coming in, you felt that he had aspirations of top 6 from the start, but it's just a matter of, once again, the defense for Everton is the main problem. They're getting old. The addition of Ashley Williams wasn't really the major signing that we should have had in the first place. I thought we were going to go after Virgil van Dijk, former player of Koeman's. So that's something that needs to be addressed going forward. The goalkeeper situation needs to be addressed going forward, because Joe Robles and Stecklenburg are not number 1 goalkeepers. We need to go after somebody that, like a Pickford or a Jack Butland, those type of players.
Well, with Sunderland going down, I think Jordan Pickford is on everyone's radar. And I was speaking with my friend about this yesterday. Is there a potential for Manchester City to look at Jordan Pickford and think, do you know what, we could have a go with him, because he's sort of all right with the ball at his feet. He's got very good kicking ability. Is that too far-fetched?
Considering how the City goalkeeping situation has been this past season, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to go after him.
No.
I agree with that.
So, with Everton and obviously Romelu Lukaku, is there any fear, I suppose there is, of him leaving in the summer?
After a loss like this, I absolutely would think that the fear has been realized at this point in time. The fact of the matter is, though, Everton are trying to get big money for him. They're not accepting bids of lower than £50 million, which is reasonable considering that he is a striker that's got 24 goals this season and continues to improve. He's a very young striker, 23. He's got several more years of improvement ahead of him. So, yeah, I would assume and agree with Everton that he would command a lot of money for anybody that wants to go after him, whether it's United, whether it's Chelsea, going back to Chelsea. He does command a lot of money, and I do feel like Everton are going to have to get rid of him, and not by their own volition. It's going to be Lukaku saying, I want to move, and I want to move now.
So, obviously, if he does go, there is obviously question marks over the striker spot and question marks in defence and goal. Is this season sort of make or break for Everton to get into the Europa League, or do you think next season as well? Because Koeman is a good manager. I'm not going to take that away from him. Do you think next season, if Romelu Lukaku goes and no sort of centre-backs or goalkeepers are signed, you are looking sort of lower mid-table side, or?
Well, we are in the Europa League right now. That much is for certain. It's just that if he goes and we don't, like you said, sign a center back or a goalkeeper, we're going to crash out of the Europa League. We're going to be like West Ham is this year. We're going to be low mid-table. We're going to crash out of the Europa League before even making a group stage. It's just going to be a complete shambles of a season if we don't do anything next at all during the summer window.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got a question for you. It's probably self-explanatory. Who do you think is going to win the Premier League? Now, Tottenham do have a game in hand, but it looks, to me, anyway, like a foregone conclusion that it is going to be Chelsea. What do you boys think?
Chelsea.
And like I said, I do think it's going to be Chelsea. Even if Spurs win versus Arsenal today, it's just they don't have enough time to make up the 4 points to get themselves ahead of Chelsea. So yeah, Chelsea wins.
Okay, and on the other end of the table, we've obviously got Sunderland who are down, so it's a bit of a dogfight between sort of West Ham, Crystal Palace, Hull, Swansea, and Middlesbrough. Are we safe to say Middlesbrough going down?
Yeah, I would agree.
I would agree with that.
And who would you put as your other team to go down? Because obviously, if we look at, I'm looking at a form table here. West Ham currently have one of the worst form in the division at the minute. They've won 1 in their last 10 and lost 5 of those. So they, if they're not careful, could be going down. Can Swansea, after a good result today, can they sort of buck up their ideas and get through?
Well, Swansea have got Everton next, haven't they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a possibility of a result there. Hull have got Sunderland, which is a possibility of another result.
Yeah.
Palace have got City and West Brom have got Tottenham. So it's 2 tough games for the 15th and 16th. Yeah. So I can see them losing points to those teams. And that would just throw it wide open again with Swansea, Hull, Palace, and even West Ham down in those lower positions.
Yeah. So with Crystal Palace, they've obviously had a very good spell under Sam Allardyce. He seems to have that ability of keeping teams up, sort of much like a Tony Pulis. Is there any fear of Crystal Palace going down? Because obviously they're in very good form of recent.
I would think that they have the ability to stay up. I feel like at this point in time, you got West Ham taking on Spurs and Liverpool with Burnley to finish out the season. You figure they're going to lose those 2 matches and make themselves scarce for the relegation zone. I think it's going to be them, Hull, and Swansea. I ultimately think Swansea are going to get out of that zone and Hull are going to get themselves relegated. Crystal Palace is going to be safe.
So you're going with Hull to get relegated along with Middlesbrough and Sunderland?
Correct.
So how come Hull? Because I think since Marco Silva's come in, he's looked all right, to be fair.
Well, Hull themselves are actually going to be facing against Crystal Palace, and I think Crystal Palace is going to come away with a win.
Yeah.
I just never really rated Hull to begin with, and to see them in the situation that they're in, it doesn't surprise me. But then taking a look at all the teams around them, I just feel like Hull will probably have the worst go out of those teams. I feel like Swansea will absolutely put up fights, maybe even secure some points. Crystal Palace as well, West Ham as well. So yeah, I feel that Swansea will sneak above Hull and Hull will be relegated. Okay,
Tonka, what do you think?
I think it's going to be Swansea, Middlesbrough, Sunderland.
Swansea, Middlesbrough. Okay. You've got a bit more faith in Hull.
I've got a bit more faith in Hull, yeah.
All right, fair enough. Okay then. So, is there any team in this league that you think's overachieved this season? Because obviously we can see here West Brom currently sitting 8th place, looking all right. Although that stigma of Tony Pulis getting to 40 points has sort of kicked in again. He hasn't won a game since they've achieved that.
Bournemouth, maybe?
Bournemouth, yeah, 10th. Yeah, looking very good.
Looking very
Leicester
good.
have had a resurgence.
After last season, I was expecting them to do a little bit better. Because I think with the Champions League money that they got, they should have spent it a bit more wisely than what they did. So I was hoping for them to do a little bit better. But 11th place, it's respectable for a team of that size.
Gendo, do you think if there's one team, would it be Bournemouth who have overachieved, you'd say?
I would think so. I would have predicted Bournemouth to be sitting around 14th, 15th, kind of like what they were doing last year. So for them to start slowly moving themselves up the table, getting better position, assumedly better money to go along with that, to potentially bring in better players, I think they're overachieving this year, and maybe we could see them back up in there. But I would think that they're going to go back down the table.
Yeah. Okay. Tonka, would you agree with that assessment, or do you have someone different in mind?
Yeah. I would agree with Bournemouth because for a team of how big they are, 10th place in the Premier League is a fantastic achievement.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Right then, let's move on to the MLS. Gendo, you're obviously from Chicago, support Chicago Fire. I have a league table up right now. Now, the first question I have to ask is, when I'm looking at the MLS league, there's two conferences. So we've got an Eastern and Western. Why is that?
Well, because the United States is so big, and it's pretty much been like that forever. When you're talking about all American sports, baseball, American football, hockey, there's basketball. There's always been a conference system where you have teams playing within their own region. And very rarely do they venture outside that region, but they play each other within that region. I guess it was mostly back in the day used as for travel reasons, and they just kept up with that system. But the reason why we have conference system is then the top 5 or 6 go into the playoff system, another truly American concept of utilizing the playoff system as the winner of MLS.
Okay, so that was a question I did have because I don't follow MLS at all. So there's probably a few people listening who are going to be on the same sort of situation as me. So with these, because there's 11 in each conference, so you say it's 5 or 6 that go through into a playoff situation. That playoff, is that another league format? Is that knockout?
That is a knockout format. The first 2 teams go. They have a bye, so they don't play in the first round of the playoffs. 3 takes on 6, 4 takes on 5 in a best. That's the wild card. That's a 1-game format. Then they move on. The worst seeded team takes on 1. The better seeded team takes on 2, and it's a double-legged format all the way up until the MLS Cup final. I know it's very convoluted, but we're Americans. We don't make things easy on ourselves. Clearly,
no. So obviously you're a Chicago Fire supporter. I saw you tweeting about it last night. You weren't very happy with was it a loss away?
It was a 2-1 loss away to New York Red Bulls, which continues our poor away form. We have yet to win on the road. All 3 wins that we have are all at home. We are currently 3-1-0 at home. We are 0-1 and I believe 0-1-3 now away. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. So was that a game you were looking at thinking maybe we could get a point here?
Yeah, definitely. After the match that we had last week versus who did we face last week? I can't remember. But,
that team.
Yeah, that team. But against New York Red Bulls, it was a test where we were coming in as I would have felt equal side, and coming away with a point would have been immense. But the defense for the Fire continues to be the problem, and it just makes it worse that we're on the road and we still can't come away. Oh, I know who we faced off against last week, Toronto. Okay.
So who would you say is the best team in the Eastern Conference that you've potentially seen, or you've just sort of seen highlights of?
If you were going by last year, I would have said Toronto and New York. New York has definitely kept up their form from last year. Out of the blue, Orlando City is currently sitting up there with a 6-0-1 record, which is something that no pundit would have thought they would have been at this point in time. So I honestly have not seen their games this year, so I would assume that they are definitely there completely on merits. But if I would have had to say who is the best team in the Eastern Conference, it would be the New York Red Bulls right now.
Okay. So we have an Orlando City supporter in this podcast.
We do indeed.
Tonka. Listening to Brian's comments there, would you agree with his assessment that it's just completely out of nowhere and they're sort of, it's on merit, but no one expected it?
No one did expect the way that Orlando have played this season, but to look at the players they have in the squad, just to name 2 key ones, you've got Kaka in there, who in itself is a world-class player. And you've also got the striker Kyle Larin as well, who is an amazing striker.
Yeah. Which, if I may interject, I'm sorry, Cookie, but if I may interject, Kyle Larin has been attracting a lot of attention in the Premier League about definitely trying to move to the Premier League side, a Premier League side in this summer.
What is it about Kyle Larin that is attractive to the Premier League? Is he physically a beast? Is he an absolute missile of a shot? What is it?
He's just a well-rounded player, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He can do everything. He reminds me of a young Michael Owen.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Yeah, Brian, would you agree?
I would honestly say that with Kyle Larin, he's right around the same age as Lukaku, I would feel like he's a very similar to a Lukaku type. Very strong, very tall, and gifted at both his feet and out the head.
But he's got the pace as well.
Yeah. Tonka, you went to the first ever game in the MLS for Orlando, is that right?
I did, yes.
How was that?
I was at the first. It was an amazing atmosphere. The Citrus Bowl on that night, which is where Orlando played their first 2 seasons in the MLS, it was electric. There was purple everywhere. Because I used to live in Orlando for a bit.
Okay.
And there was just everyone was talking about Orlando City. It's the first major sports franchise in the city.
Yeah.
And it's just a fantastic atmosphere. And the Citrus Bowl was so loud. And I've been to Old Trafford, I've been to Anfield, I've been to Wembley, and the noise in that stadium was unbelievable.
Well, I'm really happy you used a UK comparison because that is what I was just about to go on to. So, MLS and the Premier League. The differences are, obviously, we've got 22 teams compared to 20, and then obviously there's a playoff structure to find like a sort of a grand final winner. Do you think the Americans benefit from that, Brian?
I do feel like the Americans benefit from this right now because there's been a lot of talk about should the MLS go to promotion relegation, and I always see those arguments get quashed down because all the teams within the MLS right now are of a franchise system, and none of the owners will ever vote on a promotion relegation system because they don't want to own a team that's not in the top flight. That's basically what they were signing up with their team and owning a team. They are going to have a team that's going to be sitting as one of the best in the top league. So that's why there will never ever be promotion relegation within MLS. As the system is set up right now at the Eastern Western Conference, it's beneficial for the viewership. You get to see your team against other teams within that region going off into the playoff system, get themselves through to the MLS Cup. Now, could it be better? Yes, absolutely it could be better. I feel like the support is kind of like every other team or every other league around the world, where if you're not the best, you're not going to have the best support, you're not going to have the best stadiums, you're not going to have the best players, etc., etc. And as far as the playoff system and whatnot, could that be expounded upon? Could that be better? It can, but I don't know exactly what they could do with it other than what they're using right now. I feel like at this point in time, the MLS, while they may start to grow in the number of teams, I don't think they'll ever grow as far as how many viewership, how many eyes are going to be on the league. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think MLS has had roughly the same amount of viewership within the last 3 years. So I feel like the MLS is starting to plateau a bit, but there's definitely room for potential with the league. I just don't know and don't really have any ideas on what could make the MLS better at this point.
Okay. So from my perspective in the UK, Tonka, you might have the same outlook. The US, I think, over here is regarded as more of a retirement home for ex-professionals.
Yeah.
Well, professionals that sort of your David Beckhams, your Kakas,
Your Robbie Keanes,
Pirlo, all these fantastic players are going over there in their late 30s, and I think that's what the MLS is regarded to over here in the UK. It's sort of seen as this place where the ex-professionals go over there, they're going to make a load of money before they retire, and then just that's it. Tonka, would you welcome a playoff system like that in this country, sort of like a North versus South divide, and then they sort of met for a playoff?
I wouldn't know, because over here the Football League is so established right now. If the Premier League tried to change it, it just wouldn't work. I think
there'd be a revolt, I'm sure.
Yeah, there
definitely.
Would be.
Go on.
But it works over there because every other sport has the playoff system. That's what America knows.
Yeah.
So that's what works over there. It's tried and tested. So the MLS just naturally went with it.
Do you think there's any room to have I mean, like you said, franchises are there and the owners just will not do it. But do you think it would benefit from a promotion relegation sort of thing?
Personally, myself, I think all American sport should have promotion relegation, including the NFL, MLB, I think it would just benefit so much over there, going from grassroots upwards, because right now it's just the same teams playing over and over again. Yeah, they're different players, but it's just the same teams. There's no miracle story like Leicester City over here.
Yeah. Brian, could that explain the plateau maybe? What do you think about that?
It very well could, but the reasoning behind the same teams playing over and over again is that at the end of the season, the worst player eventually, or the worst team, I should say, goes into the draft system. The teams try to reload through a draft system, not trying to go after free agents all the time or making transfers or trades. The American systems pretty much rely heavily on a draft type of system that will eventually, it's supposed to reward teams that have the worst record to try and bring some parity to the league. They try and make the league paired off as much through the draft system, and I think that's why you don't see a lot of different teams to get into better positions because of that.
Is that the same sort of draft system as like the NBA uses?
Yeah, the draft system it's pretty much the same system throughout all American sports.
Okay. See, obviously we don't do that over here. We just sort of we have your local lads joining the local team, and then they'll work their way up that way.
Or academies as well.
Yeah. Academies, are they a big thing over in America?
They've just started to get a foothold with the majority of MLS teams. The major academies, you got LA Galaxy's academy, Toronto FC's, Portland, Seattle. Those are the major, academies that you will see some of the best American or Canadian talents come out of. But yeah, I wouldn't say that the American teams should rely heavily on that. So they don't really rely heavily on that because they don't pan out as well as they should.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you reckon for the national team? Obviously, we saw. I think it was the last World Cup. They had a very good run out, as far as I was concerned. I thought that it did very well. And was it a quarter final they got to?
No, unfortunately, it was round of 16. They got knocked out by Belgium in extra time.
That was a classic of a game. I was in America for that game, and oh my god, the support was amazing.
Well, I mean, yeah, as a UK citizen, watching it and watching the scenes that were broadcast on the news and stuff, seeing the US get that far and how excited
there were viewing parties in every major city. Yep. In fact, in Chicago, in Grant Park, downtown Chicago, one of the biggest parks in Chicago, there were routinely 50 to 100,000 people watching on big screens the MLS Cup match, or not the MLS Cup matches, the World Cup matches. I don't know why I said MLS.
It was the same in Orlando. There was viewing parties around Lake Eola, and oh my god, the atmosphere was amazing. The atmosphere was better than watching it in a pub in England.
Why? I mean, when you have NFL and NBA and obviously the MLB, is that a surprise to you to see football, aka soccer? Is that a surprise to see that do so well for like viewing figures?
I was going to say I would say so, yes, because for every other sport here in America, it's more niche. Like as I said before, you're basically watching it through a city. So if, say, Cleveland makes it, you're only going to get viewership from Cleveland. Whereas if you're watching it with it wrapped in the national flag, if it was based off of America, you're going to have all of America watching. You're going to have more viewership because you're backing your country. You're not just backing a city.
Yeah, I think from obviously a UK perspective, we don't sort of associate Americans with football. It's sort of it's all NBA or NFL. Now, when I saw those pictures of obviously all these audiences over in America when the World Cup was on, I was like, oh my word, it must be taken off. Would you say that is what's happening? Is it sort of is football over in America? Is it becoming an ever growing thing?
It is growing, however, it's growing very slowly, and I feel like when you see those big crowds during the World Cup, that's when it peaks. But then right after the World Cup ends, it goes right back down onto its slow, steady incline. So it will peak every 4 years, but as far as regular viewership year in and year out, it's probably the fourth most watched sport here in America.
Okay. So going back to the league sort of format. Obviously, in England, we have the Premier League, the Championship, League One, League Two, and then we sort of go into the lower leagues. We have the National Conference and all that sort of stuff. Does America benefit from that? Do you have anything like that?
We do. We actually do have levels on a pyramid, but we don't have promotion relegation. Obviously, MLS is sitting up top. We have North American Soccer League, United Soccer League is joint second tier right now, and then below that, it's all the amateur leagues. So yes, we do have teams and players within a pyramid system that can move up and down. In fact, teams can move up and down on that pyramid system as well, except that if you try to move into the MLS, you're going to have to apply for a franchise and become a franchise team, which is why a lot of players or a lot of people are advocating, make it just promotion relegation so you don't have to worry about having to apply for a new franchise and essentially starting a new club. It's all, if I could just say simply, it's all a very convoluted system if you're looking at it from the outside.
Yeah. It all seems a bit like, what are you doing? From the UK, it's like, why don't you have this promotion relegation? Because obviously, if you've got someone in that North American league that is potentially just a very, very good side, is it just marred by the MLS and they can't go up into it, or?
If you're talking about players themselves, the MLS clubs can buy players from the NASL, USL teams and below and bring them up. Yeah. But if we're talking about teams that want to apply to get into the MLS, they can't just get promoted in. They'd have to apply for membership. MLS is going to go through a committee to determine which one is well suited for it. And it's, like I said, an all long drawn out convoluted system on trying to get into the MLS.
Yeah. Okay. From my perspective, it sounds complicated. Shall we say? It sounds complicated. I think it sounds a bit weird. So we'll leave the MLS and Premier League talk there, and we'll sort of begin to round it up, I guess. So one of my final things is, you boys, you've both streamed on Twitch, either currently or in the past. We'll start with you, Tonka. What has been your experiences with Twitch so far?
Well, with me, Twitch, because I've got really no following, I'm lucky to get 1 or 2 viewers on Twitch, so it's hard for me to do the kind of stream that I want to do. I want to do the streams like Lakey Dokey and Dr. Benji do, like interact with the community, but because there isn't that following there, it's hard for me to stream and actually get that viewership there, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean. Gendo, have you had a similar experience, or has it been a bit different for you?
Starting out with streaming almost 2 years ago at this point, it was basically my time frame of streaming, because I was streaming at like ungodly hours for you guys. I would be 8 to 11 p.m. here in the States. It would be 2 to 5 a.m. over you guys in the UK. So my streaming time is what hindered all my viewership. I did grow to have a small following, about 20-25 people that would routinely log in and watch, either in the States or over in Europe. But it was just a fact of the matter of myself not streaming at an opportune time. It was off-peak hours. That is what hindered my streaming times and streaming views.
Okay. So my personal Twitch experience, I think so far it's been a lot easier moving my sort of YouTube fan base over to Twitch, because I feel like trying to build on Twitch is very, very difficult. If you were to go over to Twitch and just with nothing else, I think it's very, very difficult for anything to happen. Because from experience, if I watch someone else, if I go to watch someone who's on like 1 or 2 viewers, I'll go over, because of the lack of the inactivity within the chat. It's hard to sort of feel engaged and sort of get involved. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, and I actually had this little bit of information handed to me by Dr. Benji when I was starting out, or actually it was later on in streaming. He said that if you want to get into streaming, yes, you're not going to have the numbers to start, but act like you do. Interact. You may be talking to a brick wall, but if someone comes in to your stream and they see that you're just sitting there, just clicking around, not doing much, they're not going to stay involved. They're not going to be involved with you. So you got to make it seem like that you're there, you're interacting with them, and they're going to say, oh, this guy seems interesting, I'm going to stay around for a little bit.
Yeah, I completely agree. Right then, so obviously we must watch a bit of YouTube between ourselves. Do you have a favourite YouTuber, Tonka?
I do at the moment. Well, my favourite YouTuber differs from what kind of content I want to watch. If I want to watch, at the moment my favourite YouTuber is a guy called Good Game Bro, who does a lot of MLB, NFL stuff, and a lot of streams as well.
Yeah.
But, like I say, it changes from the mood I'm in, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. From the Football Manager community, do you have someone who you always click on their video when you see it come out?
I always click on Dr. Benji and Loki Doki. Loki Doki is my favourite at the moment. The way he does his videos is just comedy, and it's just a laugh to watch, and it's so laid back and casual. That's how I imagine.
Yeah, I think as far as a video goes, there's not a lot going on in it, if that makes sense. But because of his personality, you're immediately drawn to the guy.
Yeah.
He's a very likable character, and it's obviously that benefits him quite well. Dr. Benji, on the other hand, there's a lot going on with his videos. He puts a lot of time into it, a lot of effort, and his creative brain is very, very good.
Yeah.
It's at that sort of level where for Dr. Benji, you'd look at that and think he should be on TV or behind scenes on TV or something like that, because his creative mind is very good. Brian, obviously you've been in contact with Dr. Benji about starting up and stuff. Do you have that same sort of outlook as myself and Tonka in the sense that Dr. Benji's probably one of the best around at what he does on Football Manager?
I would agree with that because he's been doing it for a long time, and he's refined his craft over those years. And I believe it would just be only right to say that he is probably the best we've got going today. But that's not taken away from Loki Toki, Lelujo, and smaller streamers like Dave Etsoparty is on that list as well. That as far as people that I watch as far as Football Manager content goes. Yeah, but those are pretty much those guys that I will click on immediately as soon as a video comes up. Yeah, outside Football Manager, probably like Jimmy Conrad or Copa 90, the football documentary stuff.
Yeah, I get that. That's fair enough. So I'm going to round it up now. We're going to sort of end it very soon. So the last sort of questions I have for both of you, Tonka, we'll start with you. What are your plans for the future, and do you have any goals you want to achieve by the end of the year?
By the end of the year, I want to hit about 500 subscribers.
Okay.
Like I say, I just want to keep making content, and YouTube is a platform where I can unleash my personality on the world. But I just want to keep making quality Football Manager content, learning all the time, upgrade my equipment, and just upgrade the quality of my videos.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Gendo, and you?
Basically, I was going to say the same thing as far as upgrading quality of the videos, because I'm always learning. I'm definitely not the best when it comes to editing and whatnot, how to create a video. So I definitely would like to grow myself like that. As far as sub count, I would love to hit Lelujo's target of 5,000 by the end of the year, but I don't think that that's going to happen. So we'll just see how close I can get. And as far as the videos go, we'll see how Bilbao goes, because the ultimate goal for Athletic Bilbao is to win the Champions League.
Well, good luck to you, as well as you, Tonka.
Thank you.
Boys, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I really appreciate your time. If you want to go over to these guys' channel, the links will be in the description down below. Guys, again, I thank you both for coming on.
And thank you for having us, Cookie.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No worries. All right, thank you, boys. I'll see you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.